Welcome to the Fat Fueled Family Podcast, where every week Danny and Maura Vega discuss topics that help families live a healthy and active lifestyle with their little ones, including nutrition and training, peaceful parenting, education, and mindset. To stay up to date, make sure to hit subscribe on this podcast and check out the blog at www.fatfueled.family. You can also find them on Facebook and Instagram at dannyvega.ms, at fatfueledmom, and at fatfueledkids, and Fat Fueled Family on YouTube. Enjoy the show.
Hey everybody, I think you guys are going to really love this episode. Let me tell you, Maura was taking notes on this one. She was sharing some of the stuff that Marcus said. She was sharing it with her team. You guys know she's been really working hard with launching her athleisure brand. And this is a really great episode. This is the second time we have Marcus on the podcast. I think we had him as far back as episode 30. This is a gentleman I really respect, and I love getting together with him. And just to give you a little background on him, in case you don't know and you haven't listened to our last episode with him, while preparing to deploy with the U.S. Army, Marcus suffered a severe spinal injury that left him paralyzed from the neck down. His life was turned upside down, and after dying twice on the operating table, he was told he would never be able to walk or use his hands again. Days quickly turned into months, and he was forced into a life-changing, soul-searching mission. He discovered he was left with two choices. He could either be a victim or he could change his mindset. Having no other option, he began looking for any lessons to be learned from his injury and soon discovered that his adversity was a gift. He now speaks, teaches, and writes to inspire others to actualize their full potential and achieve their goals and aspirations. He gave an awesome TEDx talk about the gift of adversity, which we provided the links. He just released the audio version of his book. We get into all types of great topics on what he's been doing to seek adversity in his life. Guys, he has another podcast. He has his podcast called Acta, Verba, which means basically act, don't talk, take action, which is just great. And it's just Marcus, again, how are you going to lose with a name like Marcus Aurelius Anderson? Like, seriously. But great episode. I think you guys are going to love it. And without further ado, hope you enjoy the show. Hey everybody, I just wanted to take a quick minute to talk about our sponsor, Keto Brick. As you guys know, I have been around since the very beginning when it was just an idea, when Robert was getting ready for the show that took him pro, and he needed something to help him hit his macros. And I've seen it grow into the company it is today. Just so proud of my friend, and I'm so proud of the company he's built, the people he's been able to help, as he has several people who work for them. And so he's actually helping people make a living doing this now, which is just unbelievable and so inspirational to me. If you don't know what Keto Bricks are, they are shelf-stable fat bombs, for lack of a better term. They are 1,000 calorie bricks, and they have great ingredients. They have ketogenic macros, usually like 88 to 90 grams of fat with 30 grams of protein. And then the carbs are anywhere from 9 to 14. Super low carb, super keto friendly, and you can do all types of cool stuff with them. I tell everybody my favorite is Keto Brick cereal. I chop it up into little chunks and serve it with a bowl of cereal with almond milk or goat milk, which is my favorite. They have several flavors. They now have vegan and whey options. So they have the whey protein peanut butter as well as the old school pea protein peanut butter, which either one of them is easily in my top two. Go back and forth between those and the toasted almond coconut. So definitely go to www.ketobrick.com, get yourself some bricks, and use Vega for a chance to win a whole month supply of bricks. What's up, brother?
How you doing, man? You guys doing all right? I'm stoked to be here. I'm really excited about the conversation.
Yeah, man, we're
excited.
We're happy to just be back with you. I love. I think we need to get like a once every 2 month like Marcus check-in.
Yeah,
that sounds good to me.
So we're on point right now because we had January with Low Carb Hustle, and now and that's been my favorite episode of the podcast so far.
Thanks, man.
Straight up,
you guys are killing it on that thing, man. I mean, three
that
experts
was great.
like you guys.
Yeah,
you guys did amazing.
She actually listened to that episode.
I did.
Wow, best compliment ever. She's like, I actually listened to one of your podcasts.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Well, I haven't really heard many of the Low Carb Hustle, but I heard yours.
See?
So yeah,
Best
compliment for sure. I was like, oh, I'll do Marcus. Because you were telling me which one should I hear. I was like, Marcus. I was like, okay, I'll do Marcus. I'll do Marcus.
Very exclusive listening. I love it.
Okay, because you know how, well, I'm sure you can understand, like, once you dig so deep into a certain topic, like, it's done. Like, I already know all that stuff, like, I want to learn new things. So, like, when it comes to, like, diet and, like, the nutrition stuff, sometimes I'm like, okay, like, I know.
It's true.
So sometimes I just want something, like, I want something different. I want something that's gonna add value. So yeah.
Well, I hope there was some value in that episode for you.
Yeah, that was a great episode. That was awesome.
If nothing else, the spelling bee and the Noahic or Stoic was fun.
Oh, that was
Love that guy.
so good.
Yeah.
Oh, Adam
he's so quick, dude. He's so quick.
Adam is hysterical. He needs to have like 1 million followers for real.
I know.
He's one of those people that I'm like, how do you not have 1 million followers?
My 6-year-old loves Adam. Like Dean, like
I feel like everybody loves Adam.
just the dress up, when he dresses up and stuff.
Dude.
And then when you see him in person, he's like this huge guy, but he's just like so fun. He's so cool.
Yes.
Yeah, his new podcast. He should have another podcast called Everybody Loves Adam, and we just put all that stuff in there. I think that'd be perfect.
Yeah, and it's just like all the characters he plays, and
Yes,
he's so creative too, which is great. Well, you are actually what do we call it? Like
alumni.
An alumni, yes, of the show. So you've been here before, and I know we asked you this question last time, but things change, and so we like to ask it again. And so our first question is, what is the most critical problem you are currently trying to solve?
I'm not sure what I said last time, but the real one for me is adversity. It's still, we before we hit record, Danny and I were talking about the 4x4x48, and man, you write a TEDx and you write a book about the gift of adversity, but you have to continually come back to it. You have to continually be willing to say, am I going to embrace this? Am I going to accept this? The first 4 miles of that run weren't that bad, but I was running at 10, 2, and 6, 10, 2, and 6. So I normally, kind of like you guys, I like getting that sleep in. And after that first sleep, and then it's 1:45 and the alarm goes off in the morning, and it's wet and rainy, and it's like, oh man, why the hell am I doing this again? It's just like, that was a big gut check for me. And I literally, the first run was fine. The 2 a.m. and the 6 a.m. were tough. And that's in the first 24 hours. And I realized what I was doing was I was resisting it. Like I was trying to find a way out, like, maybe there's a way for me to do this, but I'm raising money for charity, right? So it's like, I have no option. I have all these eyes on me, and that kept me very honest. And this is going to be great for entrepreneurs and everybody that we're talking about here that's listening to us now. When you're trying to push, don't ask yourself, can I push harder? Ask yourself, am I doing this for the right reason?
Oh, that's good.
Oh, that's
because
good.
that will take you out of the equation, because this is not about you. And that will help you understand what's going on. And if you're not doing it for the right reasons, that's why you're not able to push harder.
Yeah.
That's why you're holding yourself back.
So important.
Right? And this is stuff that I know. This is stuff I wrote about. But it's not the same if I'm not doing it every single day, in every moment. Right? It's not good enough to know it. Bruce Lee says, knowing is not enough, we must act. Willing is not enough, we must do. So don't tell me that you know about what adversity is or about hardship or that you push yourself. If you're not living it, and if you're not willing to continually live it, then you're just lip service. You're just like everybody else. You're just repeating what everybody else is saying, and you are not doing anything different. And that's why you're still where you are if you're unhappy, if you're in mediocrity. So that's what I'm still embracing.
Well, I love it because you talked about yourself, but because like it's that struggle that we all have. But number one, you've been talking about this subject for years, and obviously it's like things that we do, like we assume that people get it by now and they don't. Mm-hmm. So you got to keep repeating the verbalizing of it, but then the way that you live it in your life over and over. It's so important because I feel vicariously vicariously ashamed of all the people who don't live it. I'm like, I can't be like that. It's just, like the person who's like, advocating something and they don't live that life. It's just, they're not being authentic. So that's a big deal. And I know we talked about this before, and we're going to get right into it because it's this subject. You did a podcast on your experience with the 4x4x48. And,
you raised thousands of dollars, like you said, for the Human Trafficking Coalition of Central Missouri. And I did it. I thought it was transformative. But for those who don't quite understand why we do these things, I think you kind of mentioned it. Just go over again why you did it and what your biggest takeaways were. Because I definitely have some myself as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason why we do it is because as human beings, homeostasis, just that constant is what we look for. We want that comfort. And the reality is pain and discomfort are the best teachers. And your best teacher is the adversity that you just most recently went through. So if you are not willing to be malleable, if you're not willing to change, if you're lifting the same weights that you were before and you're running at the same speed that you were before and you're making the same money you've been for the last three or 4 years, then you are not leveling yourself up. And we have to embrace these kind of adversities to make us go to that next level. So for me, I was given this challenge by somebody that was sort of in those circles, and I didn't know if I could do it. But then I had somebody else to talk to me about doing it, and I was like, okay, I have to do this now. And that's when I was reaching out to different people about it. The big takeaways for me, I'll give you the 3 big ones. I didn't start running seriously. I haven't run seriously since the military until last year when everything kind of went wonky. And I started running 5 minutes every other day just to do like the bare minimum to get my body to a place where I could do this. And because of you and Robert, I've embraced the keto lifestyle. So now my inflammation is reduced tremendously. My recovery is increased exponentially. And I would just slowly add to that. By March last year, I began running. By the end of last year, I had run 2 marathons on my own. So the big lessons for me, one is you have to have some sort of physical conditioning, something, whether it be running, yoga, lifting weights, ruck marches, swimming, something to give yourself that physical capacity to push, because that bleeds over into everything else that you do in your life. Right? It goes into finance, it goes into relationships. If you're not willing to have a difficult conversation with her, how are you guys going to get stronger? And every time that you butt heads on something, that makes you anti-fragile. If you guys can open that up, figure out what it is, and now you don't have to worry about that anymore. And now you guys have more trust, more love, more communication. And that bleeds into your family and everything else that you do. So that was so important for me. The second thing was, whatever you're going through right now, do not make it worse than what it really is.
Yeah. Unnecessary suffering.
Yeah.
Unnecessary suffering, catastrophizing it when I had Donald Robertson on, the Stoic.
Badass.
Here's the other part.
I can do that.
For me, it was because the last 12 miles, like the last 3 runs of 4 miles, my right IT band was locked up. So instead of being able to run this in half an hour and try to get some sleep or get a shower, it was like I'm having to walk slowly, stretch it, run until I lock up, then stretch, then walk. So it's almost an hour each time. And so it's not about saying I have this huge monument that I have to get to. It's like, no, it's about this moment. It's about finish this run, this lap, this step, this breath. Don't make it bigger than what it is. Because if you do, the boogeyman will always come and get you and you will never get anything accomplished. Execute on that task and then move forward to the next one. That is it. Very single-minded. That's what helps you get there. And the third thing for me was understanding, again, what I said at the beginning. If this had been about my ego, there's no way I could pick up a phone and put myself on social every 4 hours. But when I have a driving purpose, when I'm talking about stopping child sex slavery and human trafficking, and showing that I'm putting my body through this to get people's attention, that I'm not eating anything at all. That's what's so crazy. Like people, they went right past the 48 miles in 2 days. They're like, 48 miles in 4 hours? In 48 hours, that's crazy. But you didn't eat anything?
Yeah.
That's impossible. Yeah. Marathoners, they hit the wall at mile 12. It's like, well, again, I'm a fat adapted athlete. This is what I do. I'm a warrior from this. That's why I'm doing this. So again, that was the big kind of takeaway, was this understanding that if we have the right reason, that's what we should be remembering. And again, that becomes very obvious if what you're chasing is artificial or not real. If it's strictly monetary, if it's not something that's truly of substance. And we always talk about quality over quantity in all things. If you can always default to whatever the quality of whatever something is when you're about to go through this endeavor, whether it be the quality of your movement, the quality of food, the quality of thoughts, the quality of breath, the quality of relationships, that will always give you the right indication. That will always be your compass. And you never have to wonder if you're doing the right thing for the right reason. So those are some takeaways from me.
Dude, I love it. I'm not going to hijack this conversation because I could talk about this for hours because but I will say a few things that I thought were just like you, and things that you made, comments that you made that I thought were awesome. Number one, the way you progressed back into running. Marcus, for anybody who doesn't know, catastrophic neck injury. And if you haven't read the Gift of Adversity, well, no worries, because the Gift of Adversity audiobook is going to come out soon. So
yes, next week.
You'll be able to listen to it, and you'll know why running was kind of an issue for him. But the fact that you started 5 minutes every other day, that's what I think so many people miss, is chunking that into these small, easy to do,
it's
doable. Yeah,
and you're getting
chunks.
those little wins are important for your mindset
so
too.
important. Yeah.
It's like the crossing things off a checklist. It's just the action of crossing it off.
Yeah, it feels good.
Yeah,
it's a dopamine hit.
Yeah.
So off balance, you mentioned that, and I thought that was awesome, because I think I'm not going to say who they are, but there are people who would like to control things and who would like to just change reality and shape reality. And one of their best tactics is getting us off balance and keeping us there. And 2020 was a big example of that. And a lot of us got knocked off of our amazing, cruise control routines. And that's why, just like Seneca would do that, a week a month or a day a month, you're doing these things consistently to train being off balance. And I think that's important nowadays, because nowadays, there's always misinformation. There's always good news and bad news. Good news, you don't have to wear masks anymore. Bad news, you got to get a vaccine. There's always that off kilter, keeping people off kilter so that they're not logically able to think and they're just in their emotions. Keeping it simple, was a single task. Run 4 miles every 4 hours. I thought that was amazing for me, and it just was mindless. It's like you put one foot in front of the other and you just go. And then the last part is, and I'm sure you felt this as well, I didn't fast, but on the second day, I felt like I was on day 3 of a fast in terms of mental clarity, like the stripping away of all unnecessary crap. It was just like, get the run done, get my rest in, stretch, and then go back for the next one. So
that was it.
Yeah.
And for me, what I did was I set out with an intention or a quote or a question in my mind before I would run. And then, as well as I do, that all this stuff percolates. It's like moving meditation. And then I would journal on it as soon as I would get back.
Oh, man,
so you're just having
amazing.
these breakthroughs after breakthroughs. And then with the fasting component, man, it's just clicking. And then even if you got a little bit of sleep, then you got that micro polyphasic component of the sleep that gave you the ability to push even harder. So there were things that I wrote down that I never would have gotten to any other way, or maybe I would have gotten there, but it would have taken me 6 or 12 months probably. So this really hijacked that. If you've heard of Josh Waiskin, for example, he talks about how he does this.
He's amazing. Oh my gosh.
Right. And when I had Emily Kwok on my podcast, she's worked with him for the last 10 years. So we were talking about those things and how these small things can give you this huge advantage. So just like what she was saying about that momentum that's created from that win and how that dictates literally the entire path of your day with that intention, with that idea, with the ability to mark those things off, or with the ability to have that insight that may have been right in front of us, but we didn't really pay attention to it until it became very obvious that it was important to us. So yeah, that for me was big.
Just to clarify, Josh Waitskin, that's the guy who's chess player, good at everything, very good at learning and teaching people how to learn and stuff. That's the guy, right?
Yeah, he's been on Tim Ferriss's podcast 4 times. He wrote the book called The Art of Learning, and he is the very top peak performance. He's what I want to be. I'm sort of in that sphere, but he's talking to people that are worth all this money monetarily. when it comes to trades and stuff, but giving them these small advantages. It's just like any professional or like any Olympic athlete. If there's even a 2% differential, that can be the difference between winning and losing.
Oh yeah, 0.5%.
And at that level, yeah, that's exactly. So that can make a huge difference, and that's what he does for a living. So he's amazing at it.
Yeah, I've seen one lecture of his. It was like an hour and a half, and I was just blown away.
Can you send it to me?
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Yeah,
send it to me for
he's
later.
Incredible. He's incredible.
That's amazing.
Any of his interviews with Tim, I would
too.
actually recommend, because they talk about everything from jujitsu to diet to everything.
Oh yeah, I forgot he's a freaking black belt in jiu-jitsu, dude. He's freaking
yeah. He's the first black belt under Marcelo Garcia, who's like the Michael Jordan of jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah, I forgot about that. He's polymath.
And Emily Kwok is world champion black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well. So that's why they were able to meet, because she was always in the gym training. He was always in the gym trying to get his black belt. And then again, quality, right? We don't try to meet people. We try to go towards this high level of quality, just like when I met all of you. And by going on that path, we naturally meet the people that we're supposed to meet. As opposed to me saying, oh, I want to meet this person. It's like, no, just go where you're supposed to go. Those people will actually naturally fall in front of you if you're on the right path. But if you're not, and you're like, I want to be on so-and-so's podcast, it's like,
no, yeah.
You need to be doing some stuff, right? You need to be worthy of it. You need to earn it.
That's so true.
Yep.
That's so true. It's actually happened to us a few times.
A lot of times.
I'm sure it has. It's going to continue for all of us.
Yeah, certain situations. I love that. So acta non verba, right? Or actions, not words. We love that. It's the name of your podcast. And of course we love that. We actually sell a t-shirt on our site with the Marcus Aurelius quote, "The only truth is action." And so, when it comes to language, we appreciate its power and the importance of mastering rhetoric because of the understanding that it brings. But in our opinion, and to be clear, we're definitely not talking about hurtful language here, of course. But where does language actually hurt us when compared to action?
It's very easy for us to get caught up in the semantics of verbiage, especially internally. I think I mentioned the idea of rationalize when I was on the low carb podcast, the low carb hustle, right?
Yeah, repeat that because that was so good.
Yeah.
So for a lot of us, if we don't want to do something like I went and ran in the rain this morning, it's cold, wet, 50 degrees, get some of my miles in, and it would have been easy for me to create I could rationalize not doing it. But if you look at the word, it means rational lies. So it's the way that we lie to ourselves, and it's something that's, that makes sense. I could go ahead and that's a rational reason for me to not do it. But the rational thing was that my goals don't care about what the weather's like. And the weather doesn't care about my goals. The only person who cares about both of those things is me. So it's based on me taking actions and not speaking words. It's about acta non verba. So understanding the importance of, and again, we talked about Donald Robertson, where he talks about catastrophizing stuff, having this emotive language. It's about understanding that whatever I'm putting in my mind is going to have some sort of reaction. So I need to choose. Am I going to use something that's empowering or something that's disempowering? Man, this sucks. Even if I said that statement, man, this sucks, ... but I'm going to do it anyway because I'm going to be stronger. This is difficult right now, ... but adversity is a gift. I'm not sure what to do with my business right now. I'm not sure what to do in this relationship. I'm not sure what to do about my body, ... But if I use acta non verba, if I take action, it gets rid of all that stuff. Action takes care of anxiety. Action takes care of indecision. Action creates momentum. And when we have momentum, now that when we have these opportunities before us, we can steer in that direction. But if I have no momentum whatsoever and I'm just dead in the water, even if I have a great opportunity presented before me, I will never be able to have the momentum to get there.
Yeah.
And that's why
momentum helps, man. Momentum helps. It does make it easier. I don't want to get into this too deep because it's in the top of my head because I've been looking at language a lot. But you mentioned the word create, and I think when you're in action, you're creating. And I haven't thought it through. It just popped into my head now. And I'm not saying that words can't create, because I'm sure words can create. But those type of words and the questions that people ask, like the whys and the, this sucks and the I need to vent, those things are destructive. And I think like if you're not in one of the people that we listen to is always talking about, if you're creating, then you're in a good space, because you're doing something new, you're adding value to the world. Right. And like you talked about like, this sucks, but adversity is a gift. Like you are creating something because of that. Your actions are shaping your reality into a new, more beautiful and optimistic and hopeful reality versus words. And so like, even though like she said, like words are super important because we need to, we've lost that. And I'm actually going to make a post on Fat Fuel Kids about this, like the 7 lost arts, the quadrivium and the trivium, math, rhetoric, logic, and all those things that were in the classic education that the elites still have, but that, those same elites might be advocating for everybody else to have this school system that we got, which is just hilarious. So dude, that's awesome, because I think it just brings you into a creative mode and you're creating a better reality.
It absolutely does. And as we all know, if you're creating, you don't have time to tear other people down. You don't have time to worry about other people. You don't have time to badmouth somebody else. We're in our lanes. We're trying to create this change. I don't have the compunction. I don't have the time or the energy. Why would I waste that? And it's the same thing when people are coming at you with stuff, right? They come at you sideways with stuff. They're throwing stones at you. It's like, you know what? Okay, fine. I just keep moving forward. Again, we keep taking those steps. It doesn't really matter. Of course, people will try even harder sometimes to get your attention when that's the case. But even then, again, that's where the stoicism comes in, right? Is this the faith that I so feared, right? If it's endurable, then endure it. I mean, that's it. Somebody else has endured all these things more than we have. They've gotten there. So what is our excuse? If it's a question of just working harder, then why are we not working harder? If it's a question of not taking action, then why are we waiting? Right?
Yeah. I love that. Wow. And I love that you mentioned, like, is this the fate we were scared of? Because it's like, it's one thing to read about others who did it. Like we read about Goggins but you can't internalize it until you actually go ahead and do the fast and, wear the crappy clothes and turn off the AC and then realize like, it's not that bad, dude. It's like, come on, it's not that bad.
Because you experienced it with your run too. You experienced that second wind. And most people don't experience a second wind because they've never pushed themselves beyond the first one.
Yeah.
Right.
They never have. They've never been to a place where they're actually about to break or where they actually want to give up or where they're actually feeling their body start to push back. But that's the 40% rule. That's the thing that keeps you honest. And it's like, okay, Acta non-verba. Are you going to talk about it? Are you going to be about it? Are you going to put it into play? Because again, knowledge that is acquired but not utilized is the equivalent of ignorance. So you might as well not even know it if you're not going to put it into play. So just shut up, take some action, and then start adapting from those actions.
Yeah, and if there's one thing that I think Marcus Aurelius Anderson will be remembered for, Mada's like quoting you. Notes. She's got an ongoing Marcus quote.
Yeah, Marcus, because I have a huge team now that I basically mentor of over 400 women, and like this is super important. Like these little things, they just helps them a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm always doing like trainings and stuff, so I like to take notes. But anyways, this is all good stuff. What was that? It was knowledge that is acquired, but not
utilized.
Utilized
is the equivalent of ignorance.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And it's true.
And the kids have been watching this. I just came onto him now. Darman, you ever heard of this guy, Darman?
Oh, he's great.
He does all these skits, dude, and it's like, I don't know how my kids find this, but my kids are good kids and they gravitate towards good content online. We've taught them how to curate their feeds and stuff. And so this stuff is just, all these videos are about, like, a lot of them have to deal with a lack of gratitude. And so, like, the girl that complains because her parents got her a Honda for her 16th birthday instead of a BMW. So like
they act it out. It's super over the top.
Over the top, yeah.
It's like, I want this, then like they show.
But then like she storms out of the house in this one example, and she sees like a girl from school who's like basically homeless, and her dad, for her birthday gets her a bus pass, and she's crying because she doesn't have to walk to school anymore. And that perspective.
Yeah, so good.
Oh my gosh, it's just so important, man.
It's so true. And adversity is not a competition, right?
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah.
like,
that's another
no matter
thing.
what
Everybody
we're going
thinks it
through,
is.
Right,
Yeah.
they do. And those are the people that want to one-up you. Those are the people that complain about, they've been on it on social media. They hate Monday, they love Friday, they live for the weekends.
Yeah.
It's like, man, if your life is that, if you truly have freedom, which we do, if you can hear us, you have freedom. You have electricity. You have the time to listen to this. If that's the case, then you are out of excuses. Truly.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah.
Right? And so
Yeah.
if you're unhappy with your life, then that's on you. You are willfully choosing it every single moment of your existence. So if you don't like it, again, take action. Don't just talk about it, be about it. Acta non verba, right?
I love it,
Yeah,
man.
I love it.
Well, so you're wrapping up the audio version of The Gift of Adversity. And give us the date on when that's out, because I think by the time this comes out, that date will have passed. So it'll be.
I was going to say it'll be available next Monday. So I mean by the 20.
Nice.
Yeah, so it'll be available by the time you're listening to this. If you're the person that enjoys the audio, because I put bonus content near the end to try to create more value for people. I was kind of an old school guy, as you know, like I just enjoyed reading books and feeling them in my fingers and all that. But I'm realizing now after podcasting that there's a lot of people that if they're on a commute or if they're going for a run or a drive or a workout, that's easier for them to consume it. So I'm trying to make it that way. But if you just want a book, you can get the book on Amazon as well. If you want Kindle, you can get it on Kindle, and then on Audible if you're not tired of hearing my voice. So it'll be good. It's 6.5 hours. It was just like,
Perfect.
wow, I'm sick of hearing myself talk, but it's helping a lot of people already. I've gotten a lot of great feedback by it. So
Yeah, man, I'm gonna use my credit. One of my credits for that. I get 3
Sweet.
credits a month.
boom, I love it.
Gonna definitely do that, and just for the bonus content as well. And then the other thing is, like, any other things that you're working on to give us update, and then what we talked about before we got on the air, which is like live events are
super secret.
kind of in the process of what's the word, mutating and
Development, yeah.
Yeah.
We've got some things in development. If you want to hear me speak, May 15th, I'm speaking at StoiCon X. It's the military version of StoiCon. I'll be one of the speakers. The keynote speakers there are Ryan Holiday and Donald Robertson. So if you are anywhere involved in Stoicism whatsoever, chances are you've read at least one of their books, and they're going to be there. And then to share the virtual stage with them for me is like a huge honor. It's an understatement to say I'm honored by it. But to be a part of that and to be able to talk about Stoicism, the gift of adversity, is big for me. And then the things that we have in development, I'll let you tell them how much you want to talk about and how much we can reveal. But you and I, Keto Savage, Robert, are in talks of developing something that will be challenging and edifying for everybody that's within the sound of our voice right now, to push themselves, to learn about themselves. Again, I would go on these retreats because I had people that were like, the 4x4x48's extreme. It's like it is. But that's the only way that we learn. So I would do meditation retreats where I would meditate for 3 days in a row. It's like you would get up, meditate 3 hours, breakfast, meditate, lunch, meditate, dinner, reflection meditation, go to sleep. So 3 days of that helps you level up. It helps you see how much you're not pushing yourself. It helps you see what you're actually capable of. So on those days when you're like, oh, I don't have time to meditate for 30 minutes, it's like,
Yeah.
really? Really?
Yeah.
yeah.
Or the same thing about running or whatever it is. It's like, if everything's a priority, then nothing is a priority. These are rational lies. And you're hurting yourself. And if it's not about you, which we know that it's not, then do it for your kids, do it for your business, do it for the people that are around you, that you are influencing, whether you are aware of it or not. And that'll help you elevate to those higher levels, choose quality over quantity, understand that adversity is a gift, and actually use Acta, not Verba, non-Verba in the process.
Yeah, this event is it's not a typical Marcus speaking event. This is Acta event.
It absolutely is. All day. That's what it is.
Yeah, we're gonna be field testing the event. We're gonna be guinea pigs for it, and just logistics and all that. I don't know when, probably in the early fall, I'm assuming, or maybe late summer. I forgot when he said, because we're going to be going out to Robert's farm with the family, like, or I think it's just me and the boys. You might come if you want to. June, I think. Then you don't have to go. I was going to just be me and the boys. Crystal will go if you go. But yeah, we'll do that after that. But yeah, that's going to be awesome. Yeah.
No, the only reason I say it was because I was, of course, planning something, and I'm almost positive it's going to be those dates.
Oh, that's perfect then.
Like,
the thing that with the
because
girls?
that's just how it always is. Like whenever I'm
Like
like, oh, I hope it's not this date. It's that.
The getaway that you're going to do for the...
Yeah, but either way, it might work out because, I mean, again, I'll go if Crystal goes and if it works out. But,
Yeah.
Have your boy time. That's fine. I'll be on the beach.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be on the beach with a Wi-Fi. With Wi-Fi.
Yeah, Wi-Fi and water. It'll be a good time.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I want to unplug there for sure. Okay, so I mean, we want to be kind of careful with this question because we are not a fan of hacks, but it seems like most of us, that we struggle with living in integrity in every area of our lives. And actually, it's actually funny that you asked this question because I'm gonna have you take a test that's in this book that I just took, and it's like the 4 different areas of integrity, and you score yourself, and like you're gonna have sections where you're worse off. So it's just very interesting. But the whole point is like we may be on point with our training, but then our relationships suffer, or we excel in our business, but then our spiritual development suffers. So what are some routines or behaviors even that, we can focus on, to extend this practice in every area of our life?
Yeah, integrity is huge. Having ethos, having a code is tremendous. The big one for me is I'm rock solid with my word, and whether that be to you, to her, to my fiance, or to myself. But because of that, it makes me very selective about what I actually commit myself to. So if I commit myself to a workout, to a lifestyle of eating or whatever it is, I have to ask myself, no bullshit, can I do this? Or no bullshit, why am I resisting this? So again, finance, health, your own edification, spirituality, physicality, all those things. If you're trying to not do something, be very honest why you're pushing back. Is it a rational lie? And don't commit to too many things. We don't have to commit to everything. If I commit to everything, then I'm not going to get anything done. Having that integrity is so important. And then the last part about integrity to me is understanding that the integrity that we give to ourselves is the integrity that we are going to get back from other people.
Oh yeah. Yeah, right? It's what we project. Yeah.
It absolutely is. So online, especially right now, you have a lot of people that are like, hey, let's do this and let's do this. And they'll say that they're going to send you an email, or they're going to follow up, or they're going to get in contact with you. And then 2 months later, they finally do. That's not their fault. That's just sort of the nature of what's going on. But I'm not that kind of a person. If I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I'll do it in a timely manner. I usually try to give myself a metric and a deadline for both of us. So now that we both know, listen, he's going to do X, Y, and Z by this time, and that's it. So now that it gets done. So by having those things, again, it's very simple goal setting, but without a metric and without a deadline, time means nothing. So we have to have those things. So keeping it very simple about integrity, about Acta non-Verba, about seeing the gift in adversity, about knowing why you're doing what you're doing in the first place. If you can default down to those things, you will never get caught up by distractions and a bunch of shiny objects. But if you catch yourself in that moment and you're scrolling through social media longer than you need to, stop immediately and say, is this getting me closer or further away from my goals? If it is not, pivot immediately. And even what we were saying before about like last year, people want balance so badly, but they don't understand that adaptability is more important than balance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because even if I'm on a surfboard, I feel like I'm balanced, but I'm not. I'm just adapting and flow. I'm just able to transition seamlessly. Even in jiu-jitsu, I have that guy that's pushing into me. I can turn, I can push his arm. Now I can get the lever. Now I can turn him. And again, it was his own momentum because I'm adaptable, not because I'm like standing here. I'm trying to like create this structure that's easier for him to actually resist against. And in this life, everything is about movement. Everything's about energy. Everything is about flow. So when you're resisting against something, whether it be good things or adversity, understand that you have to lean into it at some point if you want to get beyond it. And if you're just going to sit there and try to resist it, it's not going to help you. And I say that again because even during the runs, like I said, it was like, man, what if I just slept through this and stopped the 2 a.m. run and did the 6 a.m. run, nobody would know. And it's like, no, I have to document it every single time to make sure that I'm living in integrity, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because I think that was important for me to do that every single time too, because it's not to show off, it's to say, hey, look, you can do this. You know, you never thought you'd be able to run a marathon, yet here you were, you did like 48 miles in 2 days, you know, like you just did almost two marathons. Yeah. And gosh, man, I'm so happy that you brought it to like the code, because that's my next question. And what else did you say there? The resisting thing, I ran into that like at about, for some reason, I thought the 12, because ours started at 8. So it was 8, 12, 4, 8, 12. And that, I was originally going to do 10, and I thought that was better. But I don't know, the 8, 12, 4 was awesome for me, because 4 a.m. is usually 4:30 is when I get up. So that wasn't too hard for me. And I thought the 12 was going to be hard the first night. And then I stayed up. I didn't go to sleep after my 8. And it was easy. And then I was like, oh, the 8 a.m. is going to be, or I didn't think the 4 a.m. was going to be hard. I thought the 8 a.m. was going to be hard for some. Oh, no, I thought the 4 a.m. was going to be hard, but the 8 a.m. ended up being hard. So I was like, okay, 4 a.m. was easy. And then 8 a.m. was hard, but it wasn't because of my expectations. It was because I was a little bit tired. But eventually, you know, my brain just kind of was like, accepted it. And dude, that was so much easier, because it's like you're driving with your foot on the brake, you know, like when you have this resistance. And, you know, I want to give you a little story, because I thought this was amazing. Just thinking about what you've said with having a code. Because I read Jocko Willink's, all his Warrior Kid books to the boys. And in the first one, he basically he gives him a binder, and it has like the samurai code, like the ranger code, like the, you know, the Marines, you know, everybody, what was it? Whatever they called it for the knights, you know, like the
chivalry code is
chivalry code. There you go.
Yes.
And you talk about, and you had a 2-part podcast on this, like the importance of, you know, living by a code. And I realized that I haven't formally written this down. I think this is going to be a challenge that we're going to extend to the audience, and we're going to do it. You do it. I do it. The kids do it. What? Creating a code for yourself.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Like
talk about, kid, yeah. And the Warrior Kid, he had to memorize the codes, and then he made his own code. And like when he says he's on the path, you can't be on the path if you're not living by your code. You know, and so you also, one more thing you said last time in the last question was, the code is what is your guardrail. You know, it's like, you know, it gives you that, like, no, I got to do this. And man, I'm telling you, I have bitten off more than I can chew so many times, until I realized this is not reality. Me accepting the challenge when I can't do all the challenges, or when I can't do all the things. Reality is what you're saying, thinking about it each time. And I've gotten better at that. And I'm slowly getting better at that, at simplifying my life. I'm like, but yeah. Talk about the.
No, you've gotten better.
I've gotten better, right? Yeah,
Danny used to like not schedule. I'm like, you know, you have to like eat and pee and things like that.
Yeah, if I had like a 5-minute break, it's like, okay, that's
He's like, perfect on little sweater.
Yeah, that's when I can knit the sweater that I've been
like,
wanting to knit.
Perfect. I'm gonna knit a sweater right quick, 5 minutes.
Yeah. And then it's like, you know, 5 minutes late here, 5 minutes late there, and it just piles up. And then it's like, at the end of the day, okay, what?
And then you're stressed because then you didn't actually get your things done.
Yeah.
But if you schedule less, then you actually get your stuff done.
Yeah. So talk about, you know, why it's important to have a strict code to live by. And by the way, everybody, this is going to be a challenge. We're going to put this out there. I want to see what everybody has. We're going to share ours. The Desmond and Dean are going to share theirs. Simple code to live by. And we'll give some, maybe you can give some maybe whether it's priorities or what to think about when creating your code.
Yeah, I need that. I need like a template.
Because for me, like I could think about, you know,
because I'm a perfectionist, so I'll sit here and it'll never occur.
Think about it: relationships, wealth, health, spiritual, learning, all those areas. So yeah. But I want to hear your thoughts.
I know. I just want to hear them.
Yeah, and the place to begin with that is to ask yourself, what do I really want in any of those circles? And now you unpack it and say, what would having that do for me? And that helps you get down to the real reason why you're doing it. So if you say, I want to buy a Mercedes, It's like, well, do you want the Mercedes or do you want the capacity financially to own a Mercedes? Right? Or do you just want the status symbol of having a Mercedes? Those are all fine.
Yeah.
But be very honest about why you're fucking doing it, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
they're all reasons. Mm-hmm.
Don't let somebody else's priority become your priority. Don't try to make them feel like, oh, well, this is what they want to hear, so this is what I'm going to do. When it comes to a code for me, I just take everything from all my martial art training, all the military, all the stoicism, all the Zen, all the Taoism, and all my experience. So adversity is a gift. Genuine 360, no bullshit gratitude about everything. Pragmatic empathy. I can be empathetic to this person that's being, mean to somebody else. But from a pragmatic standpoint, I maintain a boundary. I don't become an emotional doormat to them. I don't let them continue to trample on that because that's something that's sacred to me. And then humility, loyalty, conviction, ultimate victory, self-control, perseverance, indomitable spirit. All those things are from Bushido, from the Budo code, from the idea of the samurai. And in any situation, from my experience, and I know that sounds like a lot, but in all those areas, if I'm not sure, I'll default back to those things, always. Again, default back to quality over quantity. So this is why it's so important. If a person, when I coach CEOs, I always ask them about their core values in the company. Because those core values, if I'm not there, or the COO's not there, or the CEO's not there, or whoever the project manager's not there, and you have an employee and they're like, I'm not sure what to do here. But if you have something, the very first thing you have on the wall is go above and beyond for the client, that's their default setting. Those are literally instructions for them when you're not there. So now they can just say, we go above and beyond for the client. We always, the mission first, team, and then people over everything else. Now it's very simple. They can always go back to those things. Yes. They can always go back to those things. And now they don't have to think about it. And now they're leading by that example. That breathes that into the rest of your culture. And now that the client can literally feel it on the end product or the end result, even if they aren't aware of it. It's just something that's intangible, but yet that residual effect is undeniable. And that's where we have to have it. And to answer your question, to your point of why do we have to have them, it's because these metrics, these ideals, these concepts, these principles, these ethos are outside of us and they are unchanging. They are like gravity. So when I didn't feel like running in the morning this morning when it was cold and wet and rainy, it doesn't matter. This is my goal. This is my objective. It doesn't care about the weather. The cold doesn't care about me. It doesn't give a shit. But I care about why I'm doing what I'm doing, and that's it. So if that's the case, that's why it makes it easy for us. So again, a goal has a metric and a deadline. Without a metric and without a deadline, it's just woo-woo. It's just words and not action. And so many people, especially now, will talk a good game, or even worse, they regurgitate a good game from somebody else, right? They can repeat what somebody else has said, or so-and-so said this. It's like, well, okay, first of all, you took that completely out of context. And yeah, they said that, but it's easy for them to say that now because they're a multi-billionaire and they're a CEO of their company. Oh, just refer that out, or oh, just outsource that. Well, maybe if you're starting your own business, or maybe if you're doing a side hustle and your business, maybe you don't have that luxury. Then what do? Again, now you go back to your ethos and your code. Well, is this really important to me? Okay, what am I willing to do for it? No bullshit, what would it take? And am I willing to do that over and over again? And if I'm not, just be very honest. There's no shame in that. But by not being honest with yourself, it will lead you down to unnecessarily suffering, right? You just continually elongate the suffering that's not necessary. Just be honest. Again, with the 5 minutes of running last year, I had no excuse. 5 minutes, take the day off the next day. So even if I was sore, then I could run 5 minutes again, do that for a week. And then the next week, 6 minutes, day off, 6 minutes, day off. The next week, 7 minutes, day off. I mean, it's almost like it's that little bitty thing, again, atomic habits. When Tim Ferriss was learning to brush his teeth, not brush his teeth, but like floss his teeth, he was like, it's not a habit I can do. So he talked to somebody and they were like, just put the floss in the middle of your incisors. That's it, just once, and then just throw it away. It was about creating the habit. It was about getting that first thing in motion. And then by the third time it is like, this is stupid, I'm gonna do the rest of my teeth. And all of a sudden now the habit's implanted in there, it's anchored. So even if you only run for 5 minutes, that's fine. Even if you only work out, even if you drive to the gym and just stretch.
I love it.
Because the next time you do it, you're like, I'm already here. I'm already wearing my workout clothes. I might as well pick up a weight or go for a run or stretch or do a burpee or two.
It almost always works out that way. It's like, oh, I feel good. I'm warm. I'm feeling, but you got that initial step, which is the hardest one. I'm curious about your work with companies, but I want to just mention, it just goes to show like our perception, how it changes the way we view something. Because when you mentioned pragmatic empathy, you mentioned it on the Low Carb Hustle podcast. And my point of view was the opposite of what you said, because a lot of people do have that doormat thing where they don't have, actually, I'm not saying that you're a doormat, but that Maura has had issues with, boundaries. And I feel like I've been put here on this earth.
And I'm an empath. So
and she's an empath.
Imagine.
So she is on that one, and so it's my job to protect her. But actually, the training wheels have gone away.
It's really my job technically, but you help me.
Yeah, but you've actually started protecting yourself. But it's funny because the way I view pragmatic empathy is like, okay, I know that I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, because Danny actually doesn't have empathy, which is hysterical. Because I used to joke about it. I was like, guys, we're all just lucky that Danny's like a happy guy, because he'll like laugh at me when I cry in movies. He never cries ever.
Unless it has to do with.
And I've never like I'm like, we're all just lucky that he's a happy dude, because he's like a closet sociopath.
Functional sociopath.
He's a functional sociopath.
It's easy for me to just.
Oh man, and he can like, I have never like, he's like, okay, it's kind of like a dog. Do you know what I mean? Like, not
no, but
you're
dogs
not a dog,
never stop being loyal.
But dogs are loyal, yeah. But like, I guess in the sense of like, you just do what's right because you're very like righteous, I guess, not self-righteous, but like, it's like Desmond, right? Like if it's right, it's right. Like that. I do the right thing. That's just how it is. That's how my oldest son is as well.
He's really like that, yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't even understand. He's like, I don't understand why people do this wrong, you know. And so, but with the empathy, I don't even like Danny. It's so funny. Like, I don't even know where I was going with this.
Well, it's just that if someone crosses me, then
that's what it was.
Doesn't matter
if someone does anything
or crosses
like,
you.
If anyone does anything to me or Danny or our children, or I have never seen anyone cut the cord like Danny. Like he's just like, you're done. Like, and it's like no emotion. Like he's like, yeah, I've known you forever, but we're done here.
Hey man. We all have the things we're good at and the things we're not good at.
Me, I'm like, they need another chance. Danny's like, no chances.
Yeah.
No chances.
You never go against the family, Maura. Stay on there.
Dude, 100%.
But that's it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with the pragmatic empathy, like just like she's talking about with boundaries, no matter how much of a doormat you are, there's going to be somebody that's going to complain that you're not laying down flat enough.
Oh, for sure.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Always, right?
Yeah.
So it's like that person's never going to be satisfied. So if that's a foregone conclusion and we're using rhetoric and logic, this person's never going to be happy. What's more likely, that I can make myself happy with my actions and my ethos and the way that I hold myself? Absolutely. At least I have a better chance of doing that. And guess what? It's more sustainable.
And they'll respect you more too.
They will, even if they don't say it to your
even
face,
if they don't like it, yeah.
Yeah, and that's fine because Danny's going to cut them off anyway, so they'll never even know. It's like, oh, that person's floating off in space. I have no clue. Hey, we really respect what you're doing.
My gosh,
great. I'm not paying attention.
So funny.
I was just curious because we're finishing up here, man. But I was curious because you mentioned you work with executives and you work with companies, and Robert is that guy. Robert, like, he knows how to run everything in his business. He knows from beginning to end. He lives it. But yeah. I wonder, it's got to be like endemic to what you do. Like, it's got to be almost, I'd be surprised. So I'm curious, like when you talk to these companies and they show you their mission statement and their core values, like how familiar are the employees and the salespeople and all that? And how really attached to them are they? And if they're not, I'm assuming it's because it's their missions and values suck, or they just haven't, it's just like a pretty thing for the website. But yeah, I'm curious because that seems to be like a macro version of our ethos and our code for ourselves.
That's absolutely it. And it's, like you said, for some of them, it's lip service because it looks good on a website or it looks good on the wall or what have you. And frankly, some of them, if I ask them, they don't even know. So if I talk to a CEO and I say, okay, what's your vision? And then I ask him, if we follow this vision, where will it lead us as a company? Where will it lead you as a CEO? And how is it going to impact the world? Now that gives a lot more gravity, a lot more gravitas to what their purpose is, as opposed to just saying, we want to make a difference and we're trying to do this. It's like, that's fine. Everybody wants that. Don't give me that fluffy bullshit. Like, let's get down to it. And now you talk to that person and they realize, oh, well, I started this because I saw another industry that was doing it and they were just ripping people off and it was like subpar standard. Great. The thing that pisses you off should be the indicator of what you really believe in. And frankly, if you're scratching your own itch as an entrepreneur or as a business owner, that should be the thing that drives you. So for them, that's where it was at. And then when they start looking at that, if they have ethos, again, if they have a million ideas or a million core values, it's too much and it's complicated. So the idea is, if you're trying to correct an employee's behavior, use the core values. If there was a person that's a customer that calls in and they're like, hey, blah, 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 and they're like, well, that guy was being an asshole, so I'm just going to hang up on him. Or he was disrespectful to me. It's like, okay, what's the first value? We go above and beyond for the client, for the customer. Okay, so what would be the better idea for me to do at that point? I'm going to put you on hold and let you talk to my manager. Now they can step away. The manager that has pragmatic empathy, that has humility, apologizes all over themselves. And if they do it correctly, they can figure out why this person's unhappy. They can solve the problem. They can go above and beyond in the expectation. They can correct whatever the problem is in the product. And if it's just a person who's unhappy, even then we can still swallow our pride and say, in the grand scheme of things, if this is endurable, can I endure it? Can I take 5 minutes of this person being unhappy in their life just to allow that? For my client, for my customer, for why I'm doing this in my company. And you should be able to do that. Because once this person hangs up and they feel like they've had their say, we can take that information and either make the product better, again, use that as a learning opportunity for the customer, for the employee. And again, if you correct them with the core values, now it reinforces it. So if you say on the wall, which of these core values should you have defaulted to? They go, the first one. It's like, yeah. And that's it. So that's what it has to be. You have to literally plug it into it has to be baked into your culture. It can't just be a pretty statement that you say is like, oh, we're going to change the world.
Yeah.
For the better? How?
Yeah.
For how long?
Yeah.
Right, exactly. What is it exactly? So by doing that, that makes you get down to the real nitty gritty. And honestly, it's just like all the coaching that I do. You have that CEO who may be working 100 hours a week and they're killing it financially. But if they can't have a conversation with their loved one, or if their kids are strangers, or if they hate themselves, then all you're doing is basically justifying that person's behavior. So that's when you unpack everything else they're doing. It's like, okay, when was the last time you took a day off? When was the last time you worked out? When was the last time you even thought about your diet? And now they start saying, well, that's not really important. Well, that may have got you here, but it's not sustainable. And if you want to go to this other place, we have to change these things. And you have to change it with a curiosity of wanting to learn, as opposed to a reason to have a rational lie to not do the work.
Dude, I love talking to you, man. Like everything that you said is so cohesive throughout this whole conversation. Yeah. Like, for everybody, like what I got from this last little aside question is that, just like pretend that your head is an organization and you got all these voices, right? And because you took the time to spell it out in every area, fitness, nutrition, and you wrote down those rules for yourself, that little voice, the one that likes to be the little fatso and eat something, or the one that's lazy, that person, that voice has no choice but to submit to your rules. And the same thing goes for your employees. Like it's an amazing thing. Goes back to what you said again about the pragmatic empathy, because these are rules that have nothing to do with you, person. Like I know that you think the world revolves around you and that I got it out for you and that I don't like you because you're bald and all this stuff. It really has nothing to do with you. You're not that important. It's about our values.
It's about our core values.
And you need to stick to our core values, and then tying it again to the beginning, because I'm telling you, everything that Marcus says is like cohesive, is looking for quality in everything that you do. And like, if I'm the employee and I'm not expecting quality from myself, why am I going to care about your stupid values beyond keeping my job? You know, so it's like, that's your why for why I should bite that bullet. And just like, I mean, gosh, we're teaching this to our kids. We can't do this for ourselves in our business, in our jobs.
Right.
You know, we're telling the kids that, hey, you got to compromise. You know, you can't get what you want all the time. You know, that's not how life works. Why don't we meet in the middle? Why don't you guys, yeah, I know you want it now. Why don't you have like 2 minutes and then you get it for 2 minutes, you know?
Well, not that we have our core values.
And we have our core values, yeah.
Yeah, like that's somebody's property. It's not yours.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, perfect example. The other day at the kids, did you notice the other day when we went to our friend Jeremy's house? They got a bunch of kids also.
Yeah.
And one of the little boys said, he's being mean, like about the older brother. And so, of course, you know, you have to dissect this kind of stuff. Like,
Yes.
Are we being mean? Like, you know, what does that mean, right? And apparently he had asked the older brother to borrow something or to use something, and he said no. And he's like, no, I think that his answer is just no, but that doesn't mean that he's being mean. Like, it's just, that's the answer and you don't like it.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly
And I was just like, that's so great. Like, you know, like, I'm like, those are the moments, you know, because it's the core values. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that. I
And
love
if
that.
you put it in business, like you said, they take that home with them. So now, literally, by coaching the CEO or the C-suite executive, this entire team, or by speaking to this company, now that literally bleeds out into everything else they're doing. So now I'm affecting their kids, and even their grandkids that aren't even born yet, if we can instill that within them. And again, by leading by example, that's everything, because we are always leading. You have kids. We are always leading, whether we're wherever or not. They're always watching. So you have to decide, how am I going to act in this situation? Again, if you're not sure, always default to quality. Always default to humility. Always default to pragmatic empathy. And you will probably, I can't think of any situation where you're not going to make the right decision. And even if you don't, you have the ability to adapt and not worry about balance and pivot immediately to get where you have to go. And that's it.
And notice that Marcus, not once did Marcus or any of us mention, how do we get other people to do what we want? How do we get them to act how we want? How do we change the world? You mentioned this the other day. You just brought it up the other day, bringing up what Jordan Peterson said about get your own house in order. You know, you want to change the world, get your personal house in order. And you're talking about that right there. It's going to extend into other people's lives and other people's families, because you did what you were supposed to do, and you were the best version of yourself. So,
well, yeah, it's the same thing. And it's like, even with your own house, it's like you have to first start even just with yourself.
Yeah, that's what we mean.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, like, and Bear talks about this too, like on the streams.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Everyone's worried about all this stuff. And it's like, look at all the stuff you do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you need to stop,
stop watching
drinking,
porn.
Stop watching porn and stop doing all this stuff. And then, maybe then you can worry about other people.
Or not only that, you're not going to get so pissed off about things if you're not participating in the immorality parade.
Yeah, it's true. Right.
If I'm independent and I don't need what you're giving me, and I don't want what you're offering as far as the money and the porn and the, the flashiness, then I'm immune to any of your spells,
Yeah, there are spells.
That's exactly it. Can I tell you a quick story?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I fasted for 4x4x48, and then we went to Tejas de Brazil. We went to a fogo like a steakhouse, right?
Yeah, you got to do it.
And I just have the gaucho just stand next to me. I was like, just keep cutting it.
Just keep
I cut
going.
the plate.
Green.
You're
You're on green the whole time.
Yeah, I'm like the whole time, right? And I'm there with my fiance and my 19-year-old stepdaughter. And my 19-year-old stepdaughter has just gone to college. So she graduated high school during the pandemic. So graduation's taken away, prom gone.
Wow.
Goes to college, goes to university. Her own, no roommate. All their classes are online, even though she's there. So it's like we're spending money for her to take Zoom classes, right?
Yeah.
And she's not having the same experience. And she's gained a little bit of weight. And as we're having dinner, she looks at me and she's like, I wish I had the discipline that you had from the 4x4x48. And I'm also doing 75 hard. I was in the middle of 75 hard as I did that. And 75 hard is a workout program, 2 workouts a day, 1 outside, one indoors, gallon of water, progress pick, read 10 pages a day,
no cheats,
diet, accountability, all that stuff, right? So
I'm just like, keep scrolling when I see that.
I look at her and I was like, I wasn't always disciplined. It's not like I just woke up and I was this person. Like, I have to choose discipline every single day. And so as she's talking, I talk about 75 hard, she downloads the app while we're there, right? And then she's looking at it. She's like, ooh, that looks tough. I was like, it is tough. I was like, but So I offered her a monetary incentive to go all the way through it. And she's on the teetering verge. And then my fiance across the table says, if you do it, I'll do it.
Wow. I love that.
Wow.
Right?
That's good.
Now, my fiance doesn't like to go work out. She doesn't like being cold and wet in the rain. But guess what? She's on day 14. She's on day 18, right?
Wow.
Yeah, and her daughter is a bigger why for sure than
That's
herself.
exactly it. And that was her reason. And so, again, that's leading by example. And for the first 4 days, she did great. My daughter did. And then she had a bad day and she fell off. So I was on day 55. And I said, I'm going to start over on day 1 with you.
Wow.
Because she was going to quit. She was going to give up. She was like,
oh my gosh.
That's a wrap.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll do it with you. And she's like, you can't do that. I was like, I do whatever I want if it's something that's truly in line with what I want.
Yeah.
With my values, with my priority. And they are my world. Everything else, that's my drop down.
Yeah.
How is it going to affect them? Okay, then I'll do it. So then on social media, everybody's like, oh, what happened? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, this was the decision that I made. And guess what? Now she's back on the track. And now the whole family 75 hard.
I love it.
We got the wedding coming up. My fiance, he was already in great shape, is getting into even better shape. She's getting abs. She's 44.
Nice.
Leveling up, man.
Love it.
Leveling up. And again, the iron sharpens iron. And that's truly the tide that rises all boats. But it doesn't happen overnight. And frankly, it's not supposed to, because if it did, you wouldn't fucking respect it.
No, exactly.
Yeah,
Wouldn't
it's true.
appreciate it.
You wouldn't appreciate it or
Nope.
respect it.
Nope. Thank God for that. I want to say this because I think I finished saying it because I'm so ADD and I started to go on. But I wanted to say that what Marcus, I think, will always be remembered for is, at least one of the biggest things in my mind, is this thought that when adversity comes, most people turn off. And really, that's when you're supposed to turn it on.
Right.
And that's, I think, Marcus, is one of your best contributions that you've been able to live. And because you've lived it, you've been able to really like have that authenticity and that believability and that credibility. So thank you so much, brother. Always awesome talking to you, man.
Great.
For real.
Thank you.
We appreciate
thank you
you.
both so much. It's an honor always. And I love talking to you guys. So I can't wait for the next conversation, whether it be in person or on a phone call. So
In person,
in person
for sure.
Yeah, we got to do it.
So, well,
My last question.
Yes.
Well, where can everyone find you online? Anything you want to let our audience know? Any new projects? Of course, we'll put all of this stuff in the show notes to make it easy.
absolutely. You can follow me on Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter, Marcus Aurelius Anderson. Go to the website, marcusaureliusanderson.com. By the time you're listening to this, the audio book will be out, The Gift of Adversity, Overcoming Paralysis and Pain to Find Purpose. You get to hear my story about what got me in the military at 38 years old. You get to hear about passing away on the table twice. You get to hear about suicidal depression, but not being able to act on it because you're paralyzed. And then what do you do? And that's kind of what I've been just beating this drum for a while. And for better or for worse, the way times are going, this is a message that people need more now than ever.
I agree.
Absolutely, man. Thank you, brother. And we'll put all of that in the show notes. Show nuts or show notes?
Oh my god!
Put that in the show notes.
It's not that
Totally
kind of
killed
show.
our moment. I was almost
Danny.
gonna cry, and then Danny said, "It's like, so good." Leave it to Mr. No empathy over here.
Show nuts.
Sociopath, Danny Vega.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's true. I can't fight it. You know. I gotta.
Oh my gosh. Okay. And this so that I can tell him the story about it.
Oh yeah. All right. Thank you, brother. Seriously, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.